Tonight, fast-moving wildfires force hundreds to flee in the Northwest Territories.
I could just hear them like that. Sounds scary.
A community at risk. Residents ordered to evacuate immediately.
There's a pretty good chance that it could reach the edge of the community tonight.
The rush to get people out as crews try to fight off the flames. Donald Trump's team fires back after a huge blow to his tariff plan.
This was weaponized partisan injustice at its worst.
What's next, and what's on the line for Canada? And Olympic aspirations ahead of flag football history.
I think the first one merits a pretty good bang.
The camp bringing kids and pros together.
From CBC News, this is The National with Ian Hennemanson.
A second community in the Northwest Territories is now being evacuated as the wildfire threat there grows. Hundreds of people in Fort Providence are being told to get out while it's still safe to do so. A fire nearby exploded in size overnight, burning within 2 kilometers of the edge of the community. The fear is winds could push it even closer tonight. Fort Providence is southwest of Yellowknife. Evacuees are being told to head to Hay River. That exodus coming 2 days after people in the community of N.W.T were told to evacuate due to another wildfire. Those fires are among about 100 burning out of control in the territory. Juanita Taylor's in Hay River tonight. And Juanita, you've been speaking to Fort Providence evacuees as well as fire officials.
That's right, Ian. The people from Fort Providence are fleeing a wildfire that is about 80,000 hectares in size. That's larger than the city of Toronto. It moved fast and furious overnight when strong northerly winds pushed it just 2 kilometers from the community, putting roughly 700 residents on edge. The evacuation came in the morning as smoke became visible on the horizon.
It's just really red, big red. And I could just hear them like that. Sounds scary.
You ever seen something like that before?
No, not right close.
Residents told to flee to Hay River, a 180-kilometer drive, some brought in by bus. So when they told you to evacuate this morning, what did you do?
I just jumped right up. Packed up right away. No, I already packed up, but I was like checking, make sure everything was closed and locked the door.
Those who made it to the evacuation center uncertain of what will come next.
There's a pretty good chance that it could reach the edge of the community tonight if the weather forecast does pan out as it is expected to.
The host town of Hay River itself has gone through evacuations of its own, 3 since 2022.
We went through many evacuations and have seen communities step up, whether it's in the Northwest Territories or in the South. It puts a lot of stresses on communities, but we're in good shape. We're in good shape to host.
And Ian, the next few hours could be critical. A shift in the winds could move the flames even closer to Fort Providence, leaving people here watching closely.
And Juanita, what else do we know about what's happening inside the community?
Well, while residents have been told to get out, there are people in Fort Providence trying to protect it. They've been putting up sprinklers and water cannons, trying to soak the edge of the hamlet to slow the flames if they get closer and to protect the homes so that people have something to go back to. Ian?
Juanita Taylor in Hay River, Northwest Territories. And in Nova Scotia, frustration and anxiety are building for some fire evacuees who were pushed from their homes earlier this month by the Long Lake fire. As Julie Wong explains, they still have no idea when they'll be able to return.
More than 2 weeks after the Long Lake wildfire pushed Robert Howie from his home, the Nova Scotia resident is losing patience.
It'd be nice to know when we're going back in, not as a date, but what we're working towards.
Howie and his young family are among the hundreds of evacuees from Annapolis County. They're staying in a trailer for now and have no timeline from officials.
Kind of cranky all the time, just be nice to know what's going on at home.
Crews are attacking the fire from the air and the ground and have made some progress, but have not been able to bulldoze a line around the wildfire to remove fuel.
We have instant coffee and tea.
The Salvation Army is trying to remove stress for evacuees. This donation center is filled with food, toiletries, and toys for little ones. Essentials people are needing more and more.
You realize, oh, I don't have any shampoo, or, there's different things that come up that they realize they need. And so the longer they are out, some of those things are running out.
As the weeks drag on, how evacuees feel is changing.
Are you getting the sense, are people getting antsy?
Very. Going into week 3, people weren't prepared, so it's, when can I get back? Can I get back to get stuff? And it's, in most cases not safe to do that. So anxiety is absolutely increasing.
Here, evacuees can get help with financial assistance and other supports. But Gillis says what they want is intangible.
They're looking for more information because, of course, when it's stagnant like that, there isn't information to come out.
So far, 20 homes have been destroyed and an unknown number are damaged, further driving anxiety for those waiting to go back. Officials say they're aiming to make that happen as soon as possible. Julia Wong, CBC News, Bridgetown, Nova Scotia.
And here in the West Coast, the number of wildfires burning in BC has more than doubled since midweek. There are now around 140 across the province. The BC Wildfire Service says most of them were started by lightning. In Alberta, a series of town halls being held across the province may have national consequences. Premier Danielle Smith is among those hearing directly from residents about increasing autonomy within Canada. But as Sam Sampson shows, that idea means different things to different people.
From warm welcomes,
how's my favorite premier in the history of all of Alberta,
to pointed pushback.
All of these videos seem like propaganda.
This group is carrying out a provincial tour aimed at getting feedback on Alberta's sovereignty. Ideas the premier says could become referendum questions.
It's remarkable. These panels are covering a huge number of policies.
This political scientist suggests the panels could catch all of Canada's attention if Alberta puts national issues on the ballot.
If the stuff that comes out of this process focuses more on core institutions, things like the Senate, I think this is where it's going to start to register a little bit more with other Canadians.
But then there's the question of even being Canadian.
I'm personally hoping that these topics discussed tonight here are preparing us for separation down the road.
If you speak to Donald Trump, please ask him for asylum for people like myself who are hardworking Albertans.
I support Alberta sovereignty within a united Canada. I have, though, said that if either of the petition campaigns get enough signatures, that we absolutely will put it on the ballot.
Alberta laws allow voters to pose referendum questions if they can get enough support. There are 2 campaigns on separation alone. One group wants to ask, do you agree that the province of Alberta shall become a sovereign country and cease to be a province in Canada? Alberta's court system will test the constitutionality of that question this fall before it can gather signatures.
Would you like to sit down?
Enough of this nonsense.
The second petition is already out there. They're asking,
do you agree that Alberta should remain in Canada?
There is no way that I want us to leave. I think if we leave, then we're prime real estate for whatever's happening in the United States.
The second half of the Alberta Next panels will focus mainly on the southern part of the province, where Albertans hope their ideas gain traction with the Premier. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Edmonton.
The White House is dismissing Friday's bombshell U.S. Appeals Court ruling as a partisan attack. The ruling threatens to strike down many of Donald Trump's tariffs, including some on Canada. Caroline Bargout now on how much of Trump's signature trade policy is actually in legal limbo.
After a U.S. appeals court took aim at Donald Trump's trade war, members of his administration are firing back.
This was weaponized partisan injustice at its worst.
The court ruled many of Trump's tariffs enacted without Congress by declaring national emergencies are illegal, including the ones against Canada and Mexico, based on accusations of cross-border fentanyl trafficking.
If China and the drug cartels from Mexico and Canada stop killing Americans tomorrow, tariffs go away. Ditto if the trade deficit went to zero.
But charges that this ruling is partisan fall flat, with the dissent written by a Democrat. A Barack Obama appointee says this former U.S. District Court judge.
As usual, I think President Trump is way off base in thinking that judges are political and
rule in accordance with the principles of the president who appointed them. That doesn't seem to be the case at all.
On social media, Trump painted the ruling in almost apocalyptic terms, writing, "If these tariffs ever went away, it would be a total disaster for the country," saying it would make us financially weak and we have to be strong.
Canada has been ripping us off for years on tariffs.
Only some of Trump's tariffs would be impacted by the ruling. Those enacted under an obscure act giving the U.S. president the authority to bypass Congress in times of war or national emergency. That would include the 35% tariffs on Canada for non-CUSMA compliant goods. Among those not impacted, the 50% duties on steel and aluminum and on copper products, and the tariffs on cars and trucks not built in the U.S. or covered by CUSMA. The Trump administration has until October 14th to appeal to the Supreme Court and will likely also ask the court to leave the tariffs in place until a decision is reached.
And none of this seems to be affecting Canada's efforts to reach a trade deal with Trump.
In Canada, U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc was here in D.C. last week, and he said the talks are coming along and he's keeping in touch with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. He's now focusing on technical issues that need to be sorted out before the two countries could head back to the negotiating table. Now, Canadian officials have said that it is unlikely Canada will walk away with no tariffs at all.
Caroline Bargut reporting from Washington. Those U.S. tariffs have rattled both allies and adversaries alike. And in China, leaders from Eastern Europe and Asia converged to form deeper partnerships. India and China publicly put aside their differences. And as Philip Lee Shannock explains, it's expected that Ottawa is also watching closely.
India's Narendra Modi and Russia's Vladimir Putin greeted warmly by Chinese President Xi Jinping. China, hosting the 10-country Shanghai Cooperation Organization, also welcomed new members Belarus and Iran. With more than half the world's population, the bloc wants less influence from the United States and a more Asia-centered world order, with Beijing angling to take the lead. Better friends than rivals, President Xi telling Prime Minister Modi that the dragon and the elephant can dance together. The two agreed to end a border dispute in the Himalayan region, one that erupted in a violent clash in 2020 that left 20 soldiers dead. Both countries have been criticized by the West for their relationship with Russia as the war in Ukraine grinds on. And both face stiff U.S. tariffs under President Donald Trump's global trade war. Observers say India has no choice but to seek more reliable trading partners.
I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass.
I don't see India lining up with the ranks of those, as President Trump sort of very vulgarly announced, as countries lining up to kiss his ass.
And Canada should be watching this summit closely, says his former international trade advisor to the Canadian government.
If we're not looking for opportunities, I hope we are. And I think some people are. I'm sure the thought has crossed Prime Minister Carney's mind that given that the United States is kind of pulling up the drawbridge.
But he says with the Canada-U.S. trade agreement up for renegotiation, there is a risk.
We could get on Washington's bad side. But I'll say this, that somehow we're already on the bad side of the Trump administration, and we were an extremely loyal ally.
Prime Minister Mark Carney has signaled a willingness to broaden relations, recently appointing a top diplomat for talks with India and agreeing to open lines of communication with China. Philip Lee Shannock, CBC News, Toronto.
An overnight Russian drone attack has knocked out power for tens of thousands of Ukrainians. The attack hit power stations in Ukraine's Odessa region and also in the country's northern Chernihiv region. It follows days of heavy Russian strikes on Ukrainian cities this week. Kyiv is now promising more long-range strikes into Russia in retaliation. The Israeli military says it's killed a spokesperson for Hamas's military wing as its assault on Gaza City ramps up. From all sides, death and danger are everywhere. Even here where we stand could be unsafe as well, says this man as he and others flee the destruction. Bombardment of Gaza's city outskirts continues to send columns of dust into the sky and bring ruin and death on the ground. Local health officials say morgues received at least 43 bodies since Saturday, most killed in Gaza City. Another 7 are said to have died from malnutrition-related causes as famine spreads. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu touted the killing of Hamas spokesperson Abu Ubaidah ahead of a meeting of his security cabinet. Discussion of ceasefire and hostage negotiations, according to multiple officials, was not on the agenda.
Those who are supposed to represent us are in every possible way betraying and failing Palestinians.
Swedish activist Greta Thunberg, just before she boarded a boat carrying supplies that left Barcelona en route to Gaza. Her team will be joined by several other vessels which will form a convoy. This is the second time Thunberg has tried to get to Gaza. Back in May, she was stopped by Israel while approaching and then deported. New rules are about to take effect in Metro Vancouver, forcing owners of wood-burning stoves and fireplaces to get them registered or face a fine. Georgie Smythe now on why the change is taking effect.
These are the ones that will go inside your masonry fireplace.
Chris Dixon knows fireplaces.
I think there's just something innate in us that just loves burning wood, and people actually come in and apologize that they want to burn wood.
He sells gas, electric and the traditional wood-burning kind, updated to burn cleaner.
Instead of the heat just going, or the smoke just going straight up, it's going to get burnt again.
But not all fireplaces can do that, and that's a problem for Vancouver's air quality, say those trying to improve it.
Lower emissions are important to try and reduce the fine particulate matter that can affect anybody.
The city says wood smoke from residential burning is the largest source of fine particulate matter emissions, matter that can easily get into people's lungs and blood, so they're bringing in new rules.
People who have fireplaces or wood stoves that they're actually using in the urban and suburban parts of Metro Vancouver, they have to register before they use that device.
It comes into effect mid-September, registration is free, and people with frequently used wood-burning fireplaces must also commit to burn only seasoned wood, fire logs or wood pellets. Montreal made a similar move in 2018 and has recorded significant reductions in smog in the city since.
For a lot of people, kind of understanding is important for them to buy into what they need to do.
And these units now can heat 600-800 square feet very comfortably.
Dixon has been fielding a lot of questions about the changes, but says there's a lot of choice out there for those with the money and ability to upgrade, and better alternatives for people sticking with wood.
If you're burning good, clean wood, and that's a very important part here, if you're burning seasoned wood, the emissions are very low.
So keeping cozy and clean when the weather changes is still an option. Georgie Smythe, CBC News, Vancouver.
This was an incredibly busy day for tourism in Charlottetown, where, in an unusual occurrence, 2 cruise ships were docked at the same time.
To be able to host inaugural ships, we call them, or new visitors to our island, I think it just speaks to the prominence of our region as a destination.
About 5,000 visitors were in the PEI capital for the start of the city's fall cruise season. The ships were only in town for about 10 hours, but officials say their short stay can be a big boost for the economy. There's a new push on to keep aspiring Indigenous teachers closer to home.
It is best to be able to not only train the people in the communities, but also to be able to keep them in their community.
The drive to reclaim education so students can learn in their own culture. Next. Plus, stars of the Canadian gridiron take the field to develop a whole new generation of football players.
Drop jewels on the younger kids so they can learn how to progress their game is always a good feeling.
The race to build talent as flag football's Olympic debut approaches. And a BC couple's phone number mistakenly listed as a barbecue maker's customer service line.
Jim would do his best to sort of direct the calls and help them with parts.
A dose of Canadian kindness in our moment. We're back in 2. Rudy Giuliani is recovering tonight after suffering serious injuries in a car crash. Giuliani's security chief says that the vehicle was struck from behind while on a New Hampshire highway Saturday evening. The former New York mayor was taken to hospital with injuries to his back, arm, and leg. Police say charges haven't been laid, but the investigation continues. As the school year begins, some aspiring Indigenous teachers are learning how to incorporate their culture into their lessons. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson shows us how their future students will benefit.
They're learning to be teachers, not in a lecture hall, but on the land.
We talked about the basket and how the basket has many weaves. So that's what we were doing a lot today, developing with each other, learning from each other.
This special program at the University of New Brunswick is designed to educate aspiring teachers who are Inuit, Métis, or First Nations.
Okay, so then hold it.
They learn from their elders, then bring that knowledge to their communities once they stand in front of a classroom.
The whole concept of becoming good educators for our children.
They're going to be seeing themselves, Indigenous teachers teaching Indigenous knowledge on their homelands. And so those are the first impressions on our children.
The program is one of 12 initiatives that qualified for funding by the Rideau Foundation, $8.6 million this year. It's not just what these teacher candidates are learning that's geared towards preserving Indigenous identity, it's also where they're learning it.
It is best to be able to not only train the people in the communities, but also to be able to keep them in their community and offer programming that takes place within the communities.
The initiative gets to the very heart of one of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to action, which asks the governments to provide the necessary funding to post-secondary institutions to educate teachers on how to integrate Indigenous knowledge and teaching methods into classrooms. For these participants in New Brunswick, some of them children of residential school survivors, it's the beginning of the world they hope to see, where education can weave the path to reconciliation. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
Flag football is gaining popularity in Canada ahead of its debut at the next Summer Olympics.
To be able to represent my country in a sport that I love and I currently play professionally in the CFL, I feel like it would be a dream for most.
Why some Canadian football stars are passing the pigskin to a new generation. Plus, in a moment of passion, Mike Myers made an unplanned gesture that galvanized Canadian patriotism.
I was up there and I just got more and more angry. I thought, I'm really mad about this, leave us alone, what the hell?
Our interview with the architect of Elbows Up. The National breaks down the stories shaping our world. Next. Canada's Felix Auger-Aliassime now advancing to the fourth round of the U.S. Open after beating Germany's Alexander Zverev, the third-ranked player in the world.
3 3/4 hours worth of unadulterated brilliance from the Canadian.
It was clear he was savoring this victory after a series of recent setbacks. On Monday, Auger-Aliassime goes up against Andrei Rublev of Russia with a spot in the quarterfinal on the line. There's nothing like the Olympics to bring luster to a sport. Add some local pros and suddenly flag football is hot. Quibino Duro talked to the kids who came to a summer camp in Montreal, and they're not the only ones thinking about a shot at a medal.
On the University of Montreal's home field, kids develop their flag football skills with the help of some pros.
I love this sport. I played last year on the summer, and it's a passion now.
The CFL's Montreal Alouettes leading this camp for kids between the ages of 10 and 17.
I used to be a flag guy, so being able to come back and give back to the community is always a blessing to do, and drop jewels on the younger kids so they can learn how to progress their game is always a good feeling.
Players here are learning real game situations from this playbook, from the huddle to the formation to actually running the play and catching the ball like this.
So doing these things, it's more for fun. I'm here. It's a nice day. We're just having fun with friends and meeting new people. I'm learning new experiences with other people. I've been playing with boys for the first time.
Flag football's growing appeal is linked to its upcoming Olympic debut at the 2028 Los Angeles Games.
We've never had a football sport in the Olympics.
While professionals are allowed to play at the Olympics, the games conflict with the CFL season, leaving some doubt. But this Montreal Alouettes defensive lineman says if he got the call to play for Team Canada, he would accept in a heartbeat.
I think the first one merits a pretty good bang, and I would love to be a part of that history.
Football Quebec says these camps also help them find talent for the provincial and national teams.
It's getting there. I think it's getting there. Like we saw from Team Nationals, there's like 22 selection from Quebec and a few from out of Canada. So I think, you know, Alberta's getting there, Saskatchewan's getting there. Yeah, I can't wait to see next championship.
Inspiration for the pros chasing the Olympics and the kids just starting to hone their skills. Cubino Duro, CBC News, Montreal.
Time now to dig deeper into the news shaping our world. And tonight we revisit Paul Hunter's interview with Mike Myers, right at the peak of tensions with the U.S. over Donald Trump's threats of annexing Canada.
So let's go back in time.
Sure.
To the afternoon before the night of the T-shirt.
The night of the T-shirt.
The night of the T-shirt.
Yeah, it's a good name for a movie, really.
Did you have a plan for that? Like, did you know you were going to do that?
No. I knew I was going to wear the T-shirt, but just to wear the T-shirt, you know. And I had no plan. Didn't even tell my wife, Kelly. Didn't tell the kids. It's just, I was up there and I just got more and more angry. I thought, I'm really mad about this, you know, leave us alone, what the hell? And then I don't really have a strong recollection of doing elbows up.
Really?
I did have Gordie Howe come into my mind of like, we're not going to attack anybody, but if you attack us, you're going to get some elbows. And there was no premeditation whatsoever. It's just strong feelings of leave us alone, you know. I was just up there thinking, well, a whole bunch of people are going to see this. And I don't think I can stay quiet on it.
You heard him. Mike Myers was angry as he took the stage that night, just as millions of Canadians were angry at Donald Trump's threat to annex Canada. He happened to be wearing that T-shirt in private protest, and then he just decided to show it to the world, that defiant message. Then the tapping of that elbow and the mouthing of elbows up. A reference to the playing style of Canadian hockey legend Gordie Howe. It was a night that began with his first sketch on Saturday Night Live in a decade, and his impression of Elon Musk, complete with chainsaw. But ending with that message to people back home that brought a tidal wave of fierce national pride.
The next day I got a call from my brother saying, it's blowing up. And I'm like, what's blowing up? Oh God, did Elon, yeah. And it was like, no, the elbow's up. And I was like, oh yeah, I did elbows up, that's right, yeah. I don't know, I was very surprised by it, but very also happy that it wasn't just me who was feeling like something has to be said.
And it just kept growing. Elbows up caught fire everywhere.
I want to tell you about a new hero of mine, a new Canadian hero. Mike Myers has been so inspirational.
Not only did he wear this shirt and shake it, shake it, shake it with pride, but he also did elbows up, elbows up.
Just look it up. It's a hockey reference. It's fantastic.
Elbows up. Elbows up.
Canadians take care of Canadians. We don't need to be anybody's 51st state.
To you, Mike Myers, took's off to you.
And there was more to come from Mike Myers on SNL. The Canadian Tire T-shirt was next. The Maple Leafs after that. With Myers, the kid from Toronto who'd made so many millions laugh with Wayne's World, Austin Powers, Shrek, and beyond, had suddenly become a kind of folk hero in his home country. Elbows up. Canada is not for sale. No way, no how.
I was in Ottawa not too long ago, for the first time since the 51st state stuff came up. It blew my mind, the number of Canadian flags, the degree of patriotism that was evident everywhere, right? Somebody came up to me and starts talking about Trump. And they said to me, Canada needs more Mike Myers.
That's nice.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Well, I would be nothing without Canada. The Canadian taxpayer put money into the government. The government subsidized our rent when I was a kid. They accepted my parents from Liverpool, England, who had no capital whatsoever, and put my parents' kids through a very fantastic high school. There was a program at Stephen Leacock where I went that was a TV program to get more people into television. I got into that. I would have gone to York University, that would have been subsidized. I worked at the CBC.
Congratulations.
Thank you, no, but I'm saying that's taxpayer money. That somebody paid their taxes is why I'm here talking to you about something, you know what I mean? And I don't forget, I'm very grateful. I also love Canada. You know, it's, if I wasn't Canadian, I would want to be Canadian, you know what I mean? I like our vibe. I like who we are. I think it's great. So for me, it just came from a place of, you know, they brought me to the dance, you know, Canada, and it's my country, you know. I think of another Canadian, a poet, Joni Mitchell, talking about paved paradise, put up a parking lot, you don't know what you've got till it's gone, you know. Certainly when you leave Canada, you know, there's just a vibe here, you know. My shoulders drop down to my hips, my jaw unclenches. It's just, there's a sanity, there's a reasonableness, there's a grown-upness, you know, that is unique to this country. And it's, you know, what's so funny about peace, love, and understanding, you know what I mean? And it's great, you know.
You had the Canada Not For Sale shirt. Canadian Tire was next.
Yes.
How many
I wanted
people
us to
did you
buy Canadian. That was the whole thing. Because a boycott had ensued, and I was like, wow, buy from Canadian Tire.
So you go from explaining Gordie Howe to some Americans, I imagine, to explaining Canadian Tire.
Yes.
Then came the Carney ad.
Yes.
How'd that come about?
They called and said, would you like to meet the Prime Minister and do a little video thing?
Go. Mr. Prime Minister, Mike Myers, what are you doing here? I just thought I'd come up and check on things.
You live in the States?
Yeah, but I'll always be Canadian. Do you remember Mr. Dressup, the children's show on CBC? What were the names of Mr. Dressup's two puppet friends? Casey and Finnegan? Bud the Spud? Howie? Meeker? Wow, you really are Canadian.
But let me ask you, Mr. Prime Minister, will there always be a Canada?
There will always be a Canada.
All right, elbows up.
Elbows up.
I've been talking to my friends here in Canada, talking to my brothers, Peter and Paul, and talk about politics. And my brother, Peter, said, there's this guy, Carney, look into it. And it seemed that Carney was left, but a centrist, at a time when we would probably need to unify against enemies, foreign and domestic. Is he the almighty? No. But is he the alternative? Yes. And that's the other calculation I made.
You've obviously had a lot of love for what has happened the last number of weeks. You've also got trolls out there.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
What is that?
I don't care. I don't give a shit.
People say, what's this guy? He lives in America.
And I love that's the very first thing I said, because I thought, how am I going to get hit? Oh, I don't live here anymore. Well, I was like, it's the first line of my book. Everybody knows I don't, you know. But, you know, Lauren Michael said, you know, painters go to Paris. America is ruled by the moving image. It's the axis mondial of the moving image, you know what I mean? And, you know, when I worked on Wayne's World, there was a Dutch cinematographer, a Czech clapper loader, you know. Everybody's from elsewhere, you know what I mean? My wife is American, and I have 3 American kids, you know. They're New Yorkers, you know. They actually are more New Yorkers than they are American. It's sort of like they live in a republic off the coast of America. And that's where they want to live. So, you know, I'm their dad, and I guess that's where we live, you know.
What does their dad tell them about Canada?
I tell them, they roll their eyes a lot because he's Canadian, you know. I go through the list, you know, of inventions and of Canadians. My daughter Sunday calls me Canadad. And they get it, he's Canadian. I say, you know that guy? And they go, yeah, he's Canadian.
And you've written a song.
Yes.
About Canada.
Yeah.
For CBC Kids.
Yeah.
Manitoba, Alberta, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI, Saskatchewan, Ontario, Quebec.
Well, I wrote a song a long time ago for my kids of all the different provinces. The family reads it every Canada Day. And I over-celebrate Canada Day down there. And I often call the 4th of July, it's like America's Canada Day, right?
Yukon, the Northwest Territories, and good old Nunavut, and good old Nunavut.
Wow!
Nice!
You know what? You know, my kids are American, so and I live in the United States. Okay. So every Canada Day, I have them sing the song that I wrote that explains all the different provinces and all the different territories.
Even here, it's clear that he's all about all things Canada. Mike Myers has always worn his heart on his sleeve on that stuff, so it really should have been no surprise to anyone that when Donald Trump raised the idea of a 51st state, and when Myers had a chance to make a statement on that, he did, big time. When we come back, Mike Myers and the OG T-shirt that started all of it.
Can you catch?
I can catch. Yes.
Where did you get that?
I got it on Amazon.
To bring it back to the T-shirt.
Yeah.
That sounds like a corny question, I guess, but any regrets? I mean, you're giving that message to Canadians.
Yeah.
But you're also...
I thought it was a message just to Canadians. I thought Elbows Up was really for my brothers, to be honest. You know what I mean?
But you're also, you know, flipping the bird to Donald Trump in a weird kind of way.
I don't feel that. I'd be happy to. It's not my politics. I don't, you know, I grew up, my parents were in World War II and fought the fascists, you know, so if you want to say that I'm anti-fascist, count me in, you know, that's fine. But it was just leave us alone, that's all it was. Just, we love you guys, what are you doing? This is madness, we love Americans. But we can love Americans and not want to be Americans, you know what I mean? And there is a difference, you know?
If that's your message to the White House,
yeah,
then what is your message with that and that to Canada, to
Please don't be afraid. We have nothing to be afraid of. They're not, if we just hold the ground and just say, no. I actually like what Prime Minister Carney's doing with the, well, that's not going to happen. We don't have to get anti-American and ugly about it. It's just, yeah, that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Because it isn't.
What have you learned about Canadians in all of this?
That we're way more, I have to say, this generation of Canadians is so inspiring to me. They know what they have. They don't want to lose it. You know, there's Sinn Féin. I'm not advocating the IRA, but I do love the messaging of we ourselves. You know what I mean? I love that concept of we're going to determine how we are perceived in the world. There will be a Canadian voice that comes out that will be universally recognized as a voice, as a movement, because too many Canadians are aware of who they are. And if I've had a small part to play in that, I'm very, very honored with a U. And I just thought it was possible. I just thought it was possible, and I think this next generation is going to know it's possible. And I'm really proud of this generation of Canadians.
Your national pride is tremendous.
It is, and it's a lot to be proud of. And I go around the world, and people tell me things. You know what I mean? I don't even have to sell it. It's, you know, it's not. This isn't salesmanship. This is just, from my point of view, observation. And it really is what's so funny about peace, love, and understanding. And why is it bad to be polite? Why is it bad to be nice? To be tempered in your opinion, to not always hurl invective, but to just offer your point of view, put it on the table, pick it up, don't pick it up. What's wrong with that? Isn't that what we're supposed to do? Isn't that what being an adult is? An adult is speaking your truth with kindness and speaking so that you can be understood, not so that you can manipulate and hurt people's feelings. And I think that is a tenet of Canada, is truth with kindness, you know.
Can you catch?
I can catch. Yes.
Where did you get that?
I got it on Amazon. When the whole talk of tariffs and all that stuff started happening, I said, I bet somebody's got a t-shirt. And so I bought it. It came the next day, God bless Amazon. And I got like a whole bunch of different t-shirts. But I'd like to give that to you as a gift, actually, because you said bring the t-shirt. And I thought, anybody that wants me to bring the t-shirt should have the t-shirt. So it is all absolutely hilarious to me and my friends in Toronto, and my brothers, that any kind of catchphrase should emerge from something that came from my ankles. It didn't come from my intellect, you know what I mean? It came from, I don't know, like I just said, I just got madder and madder. It's not even, just leave us alone, dude, you know? That's as simple as it gets, you know?
And so it was that Canada's Mike Myers took a stand in front of millions, with his message heard round the world, but especially here at home. So what does he say now on the continuing threat to make Canada the 51st state?
Well, it's not going to happen. Nobody wants the 51st state. We like universal health care. And what I love about Canadians is they say, we want a government that empowers the least empowered and enfranchise the least enfranchised. It encourages people who have no capital to see that they themselves are capital. And I don't know. I think it's a great system here. It could always be improved. We could treat our Indigenous people better. I love the Truth and Reconciliation program we're going through right now. That doesn't say everything about a country. We're not always going to get it right, but at least we're a country that really does want to get it right.
And that's Canada.
That's Canada.
And as you know, lots of Canadians still showing signs that they're angry with Trump's policies. And one way that's happening, fewer trips down south. Recent Stats Canada data shows in July, travel by air or land declined by more than 25%. Next, a BC couple accidentally become customer service reps.
Hello, is this Napoleon? And I said, no.
How they took on the job in our moment. That is Jim Klassen with a Napoleon barbecue after he and his partner Mariana became unofficial customer service reps for the company. Their phone number was mistakenly listed as the company's helpline, so they took it upon themselves to field the calls, and tonight their classic Canadian kindness makes our moment.
We have a Napoleon barbecue at home, and Jim wanted to upgrade a piece. So he phoned just to ask some questions. And afterwards, Jim received a phone call from a stranger saying,
hello, is this Napoleon? And I said, no. And he said, okay, who am I got a hold of? And I said, well, where'd you get this number? And he said, well, I got it off the Google web page.
It was interesting because after people found out, they started talking about other things, saying, oh, so where are you from? Jim would do his best to sort of direct the calls and help them with parts. I am in customer service. This is who we are. This is what we do. You help out whenever you can. And finally, they were, after a lot of work, they were able to...
And 6 months.
Yeah, and 6 months. They were able to remove Jim's cell phone number from their search engines.
So 6 months of getting those calls, I think on some days as many as 20 calls. Can you imagine in the United States if this happened, what the reward would be? But perfect Canadian end to this. Their reward, they were named honorary ambassadors for the company, and they get a free barbecue. Thank you for joining us. You can watch The National anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and the National's YouTube channel. I'm Ian Hannamansing in Vancouver. I hope you join me on CBC News Network weeknights at 7 Eastern. See you then.